What a beard! Look at that. You need to get some just for men in that.
I'm gonna. My hair's going silver instead. Get it to match. Bit upside down, isn't it? Can't just blend it in. It's one of them little freak of natures, Jeremy.
Where on earth are you from? We're from Lowerhouse. Hey up, you up. Have you been to Trip Shop? Wotfotdoo, 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 la la. Wotfotdoo, 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 la la.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Housecast podcast. We are very fortunate to have a guest with us tonight who played for the club back in 2004 to 2008. He's joined us on the call. You're missing his magnificent grey beard, which we can see, but you can't, unfortunately. We've got Chris Benbow with us this evening. Good evening, Chris.
Hello, everyone. Are we all well?
Yeah,
we are.
Fair to middling.
That's it. Just before we start, we just wanted to talk about very briefly, our listeners are from around the globe. Adam has come up with some locations of where our podcast listeners are. Some of these places are unbelievable. We've got listeners in California, Minneapolis, which I think we know who the Minneapolis ones are. I think Shane Higgins in Minneapolis. We've got some in South Africa and some in Australia as well. So we're being listened to from around the globe, not just around Rosegrove, which is fantastic. Chris, get straight into it. How did you end up playing for Lowerhouse Cricket Club?
Oh, crikey. I think it was conversations I had with Brownie, that's Nigel Brown, and Finchy when we did a coaching course together. I'd left Goulburn in 2002 and then I played at Orwich for a year and I sort of fell out with it. And Finchy, Nigel, and I actually think I'd done a bit of coaching with Ben Eap, and he was a decent lad. And he said, "Come along, you'll have a laugh," and he weren't wrong.
So we were both right, Jez, because Jez said Finchy was responsible for it, and I said I thought it was Brownie. So we were actually both right, Jez, which is nice.
Yeah.
2 points each.
Yeah. Do you remember your first game?
The friendly or the?
Yes, the friendly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember the friendly at Lytham.
Where was it? Lytham.
At
correct.
Lytham. Yeah.
Tipper turned up to a dressing room that was already full of Lowerhouse players, plonks his bag down in the middle of the room and pulls out a pair of Temping bowling shoes. This is a group of lads who've never met before. Well, we all knew each other, but we didn't know him. So there's a few sort of quizzical looks across the room as if to say, "Who's this idiot?" We weren't wrong there either, were we? Let's be honest.
I think, didn't I ask? I asked a question, did anyone need any kit? Because I've got a pair of bowling boots in my bag if anybody wants. Can't think who it was. Yeah, what size are they? It's size 10, so I just pull them out, a pair of Temping bowling shoes. Bit of an icebreaker.
Ooh.
And it was brilliant. I do remember it was because Lowerhouse being the club that it is, it's a very tight knit, and there's so much nepotism there, and outsiders. You don't welcome them that much without knowing them at all. So it was fantastic, that the initial start to it and the way you conducted yourself, Chris, without blowing smoke up your arse for that few weeks. That I'm sure there's other players not as good as you that came to play at Lowerhouse and probably other clubs that thought, "Okay, now this lot have played together for so many years. I'm never going to get part of this clique." But you were there, you got it, and you made so many good friends, quite early on, I thought. I don't know what you think, Duke.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a ballsy move, that, isn't it? Because it can go one of two ways, something like that. Particularly we've already got clowns in that team, like Johnny Russell and people like that.
Johnny wasn't there. Well, Johnny didn't play that year, did he?
Oh, of course he didn't know. 2004, you're right. You'd have had to wait a year before you...
I had to wait a year before I had the pleasure of meeting Johnny.
So we did 2000. We've already spoke about 2004 quite a lot, but obviously, seeing as that was your first year, we'll just skirt over it. What do you remember from that year? Because for us, obviously, we'd never won a trophy before. Your first year at the club, and we win something immediately. Obviously, it was all your doing. But did you sort of pick? Could you pick up? Were you aware that you sort of we'd never really done anything, and then all of a sudden we're in a final?
Well, if before I'd come, if I'm brutally honest, I'd never heard of the club. I thought it was Woodhouses in Central Lancashire League, if I'm honest. But after that first game at Lytham, and I think was the first league game at Enfield, or was it Church? Might have been Church.
Church at home.
Yeah, it was
a tight game. Church at home. Yeah.
Church at home. Yeah. As with a lot of good sides, you was just a decent set of blokes, and when the collective is a bunch of mates who are playing to win for each other, you're going to do well, and I think we did. Fultz came, he scored. I was listening to Matt's little speech the other day, and he scored 1 million runs by halfway the season, and I think people clocked in the back end of the year, if you bowled him a long hop or an half tracker, he'd hit it down somebody's throat. So they did. He just got a fine array of full tosses and long hops, and he just hit it to people. Blaise had a decent year with the bat. Charlie scored a lot of runs. We just, I think if somebody didn't do anything and someone put their hand up and did it, with whether it be bat or ball, and as Matt always said, we took as catchers.
No, it's right, Chris, and we did that to death the other day, and it was, as Dooch has just said there, we, the 2 or 3 years before that was a real, probably 5 years before that was a real transition period of all the older ones finishing playing, and the older ones, I mean, Stan and beyond, and then all of a sudden getting these new young lads coming through, the Dooches as group, things not going exactly as we thought, 2002, 2003, but then when you get, Finchy playing a lot of games, Vishal playing a lot of games, you playing a lot of games, and a steady pro, it was a recipe for success. But, it needed doing, and the more I read about that year, the more, some great memories and some great pleasures from it. I really enjoyed that.
Well, because you said, or one of you said about, I can't remember any league games from that year.
Right.
But
Matt said that. Yeah,
I remember a few of the cup games. I don't know whether that's because I'd had too much drink and kept in my car for most of the year, but I've just not got a lot of memory of that year.
Yeah.
There's like certain games that stood out. Obviously, the final and then the semi. But apart from that, there's not a lot of memories. I can't really remember a great deal. I just know we had a good laugh.
Yeah.
You had a struggle remembering the Ramsbottom game, didn't you? Because we all remember that huge 6 that you hit in 2004. When you were batting with Charlie, and your brain is telling you that was the year after when you were batting with Macca. What do you think happened there?
I thought it was, because I don't know. I know because I had a bit of a ding dong with Murali Kartik, because I think I got him out the year previous, and then he got me out and gave me a massive send off, and it's all just kind of amalgamated into one game.
What do you remember much about the handbags?
No, not really. I think he hit me on the shin, and I set off running. And then he gave me a send off. He grabbed me by the lid. He grabbed me grill and said something to me. And then Ron, being a big lad as he is, he came over and whispered something in his ear, and it was just a bit of handbags at 5 yards.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately we won the game easily, or else I don't know, we might have made a bit more of it. But I think because we'd won that game easily, we just kind of swept it under the carpet a little bit. What else do you remember about the other pros apart from Muley? Because he was a bit of I'm going to say character, but you can insert your own word in there if you want. What about the other pros that you came up against? Do you remember any of that or not?
What throughout the time?
Because obviously you pally with all the pros that you played with, and obviously you pals with Macca and what have you. But I'm just thinking about who the ones we came up against at that time.
I always struggled bowling at Perris at Church. I don't think
Reuben Perris. Yeah.
I don't think I could get within 10 yards of him without him slog sweeping me for 6. I thought he was a decent player. Easily the best I bowled at was Greg Mail.
Right.
He absolutely destroyed me one day at Colne. He just kept chipping me over extra cover for 4. Just one bounce 4.
Yeah.
He was a good one.
He got 200s against us. He played for Colne and he played for Church as well, and he got 100 for both sides against us. So
he was a hell of a player. But there was loads. It's not like playing against. When Alvaro was with us, used to chat about him.
For Lancashire, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, used to chat to him about some of the teams we played against and the guys that came over proing, and there was a lot of good pros. You can't just. It's hard to just sort of single one or two out. But I think they're the two. Well, without your proper superstars, Cairns, Harris, that sort of player, they're the two standouts. Nathan Orritz, I enjoyed obviously being an off spinner. I enjoyed playing against him, watching how he went about things.
And since you've been obviously out and about on your coaching travels, who've you come across connected with the club? Obviously, you've met up with Macca. Any of the others?
No, I've not really. Alvaro, obviously, played against him a bit. Dale Benkenstein, chatted to him a couple of times.
All right, yeah.
I don't think I have, to be honest, mate. There's nobody sort of really springing to mind.
Okay, fair enough. Chaps, any questions?
No, I'm just looking through because when you look at, we, and you obviously celebrated as much as we did, Tiffer, in 2004, but then you go on 2005 and you win the first league for us. Could you see that coming? I mean, obviously Andrew MacDonald, an outstanding player, probably one of the, all-round top pros you could have. But you look at that side that's there now, Pankaj Tripathi came in, for whatever people thought and what I thought and other people thought. He did a job when required, Blaise on top form, Charlie, Jack McGregor stumping, Gooch, Finchy and Tripper still playing. There's clearly a great side there. Did you feel that throughout that season? What were your thoughts of that season and what quality there was there?
I think, like I said before, if Vish didn't do something, then Finchy would. If they didn't, Charlie did. If the top order didn't, then me and Dooch did in the middle. Jack McGregor always chipped in with runs at the bottom. There was always somebody who was going to score runs. And then you look at the amount of bowling we had, crikey. There weren't many teams who we wasn't going to bowl out.
No.
Jez and Joe and Mr. Benbow, when I'm looking at that team, probably except for Blaise and Pankaj, do you think one of the reasons, and I guess moving into 2004 as well, this is such a boring point to make, but part of the 2004 and 2005 team is that they'd lost a lot of baggage, from people that were saying that they hadn't won anything for a long period of time. Now got a team that are younger and maybe a different mindset. I don't know whether that's anything that's anybody's thought about or whether it's just a point that I've thought about.
I think Tiffer's point's probably more accurate. We were just a good side. We had a very, very good side and a great pro. Regardless of the baggage, I think we were always going to go well that year, and that's how it felt, particularly with the 2004 success under our belt.
Yeah.
Tiff, just before we look at 2005, I'm just going to read a few stats out. 2004, You played 23 games, 58 wickets. 2005, you played 22 games, 40 wickets. 2006, 18 games. 2007, you only played 8 games. You think that was because Finchy was captain?
I did miss one of the years because I had a bit of a. I don't know if you remember. I had a bit of an operation. So
a small operation, wasn't it?
Was that? Yeah. Was that 2006 or 7?
Well, you played 18 games in 2006, so that's almost a full season. It was 2007, which was Finch's year as captain, that you only played 8 games. So you probably chose to have that surgery whilst he was captain, under no anaesthetic.
Yeah. In all honesty, mate, I think I was getting to the point where I was just getting fed up with playing.
Yeah.
It was a bit busman's holiday. I was doing that much coaching, and then weekend was coming and playing again, and then the thought of fielding for 6 hours and not batting and bowling just got on top of me. I'm only joking, Jonathan. I'm only joking.
Right, okay, let's have a look at 2005 then. That's our main topic of discussion. You actually missed the first 2 games of the season. I don't know. I can't remember why. I can't remember what happened there. You're probably, I don't know, on the piss somewhere or something. I don't know. And then your first game that you actually played, you open the batting. That's
Enfield.
Quite odd.
Enfield. With
at home, you open the batting. Finchy wasn't playing, so I don't know. We must have drew it out of a hat as to who was going to open the batting. I can't think of any other reason why you would have done it. But that was one of the 5 or 6 games that year that we. That was one of the 5 or 6 games from that year that we won. Which, another year we'd have got thumped. We were 19 for 4 batting first, and then miraculously, Chapati Senior 109, and we ended up getting 180-ish and bowling them out for peanuts.
Andrew 8 for zip, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, Tripp. There were a lot. You're right, Jez, in what you said. There were a lot of questions around his inclusion. I think you talk about motivation for playing. I suspect that he sort of came back to the club because he knew that we had a very good side, and we had obviously been around the club when we'd won the cup in 2004. Vishal was playing, Barrett was coming through, and all of a sudden, Pankaj wants to come back and play. Would he have done that if we'd have finished second bottom in 2004 and not won the cup? Possibly not. But anyway, we as a club, we decided that we were prepared to go with it, and that day,
he played his part, didn't he? Definitely, because he won
absolutely.
He won us more than his fair share of games. Just
he did, and he was still a very good slipper.
What it's interesting, Joe Dooch, when you look at the scorecards, things do come back to you when you get to my age. What was? You're right, both of you, perfectly right. He did a job. He won some games, which is probably what's been missing, if we could say. If you agree, Joe Martin, in maybe the last 4 or 5 years where we've got one individual winning certain games that we didn't win. But what was the rationale behind it? The inclusion of him in the squad at the start of the season?
Well, he'd approached us wanting to come back and play.
Right.
So, we're looking, if you look at that side, the only person who you could perhaps look at there would have been, who would have been playing if he wasn't playing, would have been Ben. And Ben was still only a kid at that stage. So would we have won the league with a 16-year-old, or however old Ben was at the time, in that lineup as opposed to Pankaj? Impossible to say. But in terms of the motivation for it happening, he sort of came back wanting to play, and we decided that it was a goer. Not everybody was for it, Jez, as you can probably remember. And I'm not taking credit or anything like that. On the balance of the information that we had, we decided to go with it. I know you pointed at yourself, and you could be pointing at your brother as well if he was here. But we decided we were going to go with it, and at various stages of the seasons, it paid dividends.
Yeah, and it's all right. It's my attitude is potentially, good old Lowerhouse. He played with us before, and I loved playing with Tripp when I was younger. He was always a breath of fresh air. But it's probably a little bit of a selfish point, this, but I finished in 2004 because I thought, I've had enough. I'm tired. I'm struggling a bit. I'm 41. And there's so many young kids coming through here. Let's get them playing. And then you look in the Burnley Express at the following April. There's somebody coming in. So it's not. It worked out well. Like I said, there's no dramas about it, and there's certainly no issues. Crikey, I was celebrating as much as you guys were. And then I don't know if you listened to the last episode, Tipper. When you looked at my figures, I was probably getting second in 2005.
No, but you're right, Jez. If we'd have been bottom at league in June and we'd have been falling out in lumps, then we might have taken a different view on that. But certainly that day at home against Enfield, when we were 19 for 4 and Tripp got us 100 and won us the game, then everything went quiet for a few games at least.
Yeah.
So I can't remember that game.
Well, looking at how you battered, I'm not surprised.
I've not a clue. And how many balls did I face?
About a dozen. They had Danny Laws pro. Do you remember him?
From
County
Durham.
pro.
Played at Durham.
He played. I think he played at Essex for a time. Yeah, Essex. I think. Yeah.
Remember on cricket?
He got 7th.
He hit me on the shin. Shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going down legs if I remember it.
Yeah, probably. They usually were pitched outside that one.
I can remember Trips 100 because I was absolutely mesmerised by it.
I thought you was going to say clattered then. How old would you have been then, Joe?
I'd have been 10, 11. I'd been 11.
I remember you walking around Fielding final selling them CDs.
Yeah, there were me, Johnny Whitehead, and Mark
Sean.
Whitehead. Yeah, and Sean. Yeah.
Selling CDs. Brilliant.
Selling CDs. I mean, do you know, I listened to that CD. Well, I didn't listen to a CD. It was on SoundCloud. Can't remember the last time I used a CD, but that doesn't matter. On SoundCloud, and I listened to the Joe Beneduces song, and Wotfotdoo's on there as well. Still don't know what that means, but there we go.
Ridiculous.
Do you want to explain that to us?
What you have to do. Wotfotdoo.
Okay, fair enough.
How do you do that?
Right.
Wotfotdoo is put in it nothing.
Okay.
Oh, you know? No.
I mean, that's it's a lot clearer.
Well, I'm not sure those listeners we've got in California and South Africa are going to be able to get much out of that. I'll be honest.
They speak Spanish
right,
as well.
okay.
Ask any of this stuff.
Oh, God.
Can you still speak German, Joe?
Charlie can speak German. He's fluent. What's the fastest cake that you've ever come across, Tiff?
Oh, the fastest. Probably a scone.
Wonderful. Right, anyway, back to the cricket. After the Enfield game, we had a few nondescript victories. We beat Ramey, Aki, and Bay Cup, and then surprise, we lost our first game against Nelson, just like we'd done the year before. Back end of May, we got thumped by Nelson. Then we lost in the Interleague Cup. Yeah,
dust ball, the absolute dust ball at Nelson. Yeah. Kept really low.
Yeah, they had Horrocks, like you say. And I think we stumbled to about 120. Jez, I don't know if you got the card.
No, 112 at Nelson.
Then after that defeat, we then got beat by Rochdale in Interleague Cup. Do you know who their pro was that day? Give you a clue. Kiwi, been in the news for all the wrong reasons.
McCullum.
Oh no, lefty.
Craig Spearman.
Oh, and
No, Lou Vincent.
All right.
All right. Well, it's another game I can't remember.
Right, what about this next one? I think you might remember this one. Next game, another defeat. So 3 on the rip. Worsley Cup at home against Haslingden. First round as holders. Repeat of last year's final. We got stuffed. Never in it.
Oh, I said we beat Rottenstall in first round, didn't we?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, you did.
Did we not?
Yeah.
Did we really?
Yeah, we beat Rottenstall. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Rottenstall got 184.
You didn't play, Joe. Finch, you were captain.
All right. No wonder I don't remember it. Adam will cut this out. So anyway, after that, we played Haslingden, second round at Worsley Cup. And we got stuffed.
Oh, yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah, we got stuffed that day. It weren't a good day, that, or a bad day.
Was that at Haslingden at home? At home?
No, it was at home. Yeah, it was at home. They got 230 and we were about 170 all out, I think, from memory.
I remember playing them we played as it at their gaff in the league, and Dasher hit me to the moon over the houses at the far end, and I actually think I passed it on the 65 on the way home.
There was another bad day. There was another bad day at Haslingden. Anybody remember the T20 final that we played in that year?
Yeah, I can.
We played, I think it was straight knockout that year. I don't think we played much T20 cricket. It was straight knockout. We got a bye in the first round. So we literally played second round, semi-final, final. We beat somebody like Rishton and then Nelson in the early rounds. Then all of a sudden we're at Aslington in front of like loads of people. I think we got 195 batting first. And literally at half time, we'd never seen that many runs in a T20 game. Never mind scored that many runs. The previous 2 games we played in that year, I don't think we got more than 120. And then all of a sudden, we got 195 against Aslington. We had cigars out at half time.
And with that, Blaise batted 4 in a T20 game. What's that all about?
I don't know. Like I say, we didn't really know what we were doing in T20 cricket. We'd not seen much of it. So 195 batting first. And we lost, which was particularly painful. John Simpson played well, Dasher played well, and then quite close to the end of the game, Johnny Russell threw one over at boundary for 4. I'm only joking, Johnny. I know you're probably listening. I'm only joking. It weren't your fault. But after that, we kind of got our act together. We went on a really good run after that. Macca disappeared for a few weeks to go on a training camp, but we were lucky. We got some really good subs. We had Justin Croix for a game. Shane Harwood did a game for us. I don't know if you remember that, Tiff.
At Burnley, I do.
At Burnley, yeah. We batted first and got 300, and then it rained. Yeah, he bowled rapid for like an over, and then it rained. Finchy got 120, and he got choked off, unfortunately. But yeah, we had some good subs. We managed to keep it going. But one odd game, and I keep asking you if you remember. I hope you remember this one. We played Rottenstall at home in a rain-affected game, which we won, and it ended up being a no result. Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
They batted first. They were 67 for 2 after 24.5 overs. The rule was that you had to bowl 25. So as the umpires were removing the bails, we rightly said, shall we not just bowl this last ball? And it counts as an innings. And Kenny Ferguson said, no, you don't need to. If you started the 25th, that constitutes a game. So we went back off into the changing room, sat around and waited for hours and hours and hours. It stopped raining at a stupid time in the afternoon. Late on, we had 10 overs to get the full total. Ewan Pankaj opened the batting and got them in 6.3 overs. Lowerhouse win the game. Or so we thought. Turns out that it was a no result because we'd not bowled 25 overs. We'd only bowled 24.5 overs. If we'd bowled one more ball in the first innings, we would have won the match. So you can imagine the air was pretty blue, but what can you do? Not a lot.
Not much.
Joe, at this point, were you top of the league?
No, we were up there, but Rami were top. We were behind Rami till we beat them really in a few weeks after.
Right, but you were still pretty confident at that stage, were you?
Well, yeah. We'd won a lot of games. The only games we'd lost in the league at that stage, the only game that we'd lost in the league at that stage was the Nelson match. So we might have still been top. We might have been top at that stage, Joe. But when Macca came back at the start of July after his training camp or his tour or whatever, I can't remember exactly what it was. We lost 2 games again on the. We lost to Nelson again and Haslingden again at the start of July. So by that stage, we were definitely behind.
Right.
But then again, we put a bit of a run together. We beat Burnley away in the rearranged game from when Finchy got 100. There was another bust up that day involving Pankaj. We chased down Burnley's score. I think they got 230ish, and we chased it down really, really comfortably. Macca got 80 odd. At the end of our innings, when we were coursing to victory, Pankaj was batting with Macca. Macca felt as though when Macca had hit the ball into a gap, it was always going to be a coasted one. But when Pankaj hit it, he was herring around looking for 2s. Relatively minor. This must have been brewing for a little while. But when they came in, we just won at Burnley. And they came in the dressing room and started tearing strips off each other in the changing rooms. Macca was calling him all the names under the sun, and Pankaj was giving it him back, and it was a really, really awkward moment. What do? Do you let him carry on? Do you get in the middle of it? I didn't really know what to do with it. I just let him carry on, and they ran out of steam. But it was a very strange moment. We just beating our local rivals and our pro and our oldest player tearing strips off each other in the changing room.
Yeah, I didn't know that, Joe. I didn't know that had gone on, but it's for the little bit I knew Andrew and his demeanour, and the way I know Trip, I could see it happening. I can see that it's you know, Andrew McDonald's, you know, probably the top pro, and it's proving where he's going these days. You know, how he's developing now, and he would have seen something, you know, that he just didn't. It was just cricket, chaps. It's just not cricket.
Yeah, you're right. And you know, if that could have easily gone another way, you know, at that stage of the season, I'm just looking for when that was. It must have been late July. That. So we're right in the meat of
July
the season.
it was.
It would have been easy at that stage for the wheels to come off. But the other thing, what you were asking earlier, Jez, about the motivation for Pankaj, don't forget he had a very young, impressionable opener by the name of Vishal Tripathi in the side as well. So, you know, if the wheels had come off at that stage, and in another time we might have well said to Pankaj at that time, look, enough's enough off your pop.
Yeah.
Would it have just been him that went, or would we have lost 700 runs at the top of the innings as well? So I think that probably was a factor. Yeah,
well, if you know, as a captain, if you're prepared to be held to ransom, then that were your call.
Well, sometimes you have to do these things, don't you? If you want to chase
it worked,
the
Joe, didn't it? It worked, didn't it? Sit on the fence, get across the line.
So we're rattling through the games. We beat Rishton away, but then the real crunch game came at the start of August, end of July, 31st of July. We got to Ramy, and they're top, and we are right behind them. They've got Muley Kartik, who we've already mentioned, very, very, very good league professional, got a lot of wickets, handy with the bat as well. Johnny had one of his great days. He bowled them out 7 for 36. Matt chipped in with a few at the other end as well, and we bowled them out for 75, bowling first. So you know, this game, I remember there was a lot of heat around this game. It was really being talked up as a, you know, potential title decider, even though we were a month out, and to go there and bowl them out for 75 was a great boost for us. I mentioned earlier we didn't have Finchy playing, so Tiffer opened the batting, and I can remember this clear as day. That wasn't always the plan, but because they got 75, and because we knew Kartik was just going to wheel away from one end, it made a lot of sense. Let's send the slogger out to try and put him off his length. Get under his skin.
Yeah, certainly did that.
And while she only got 10, it obviously worked because he did lose his rag completely that day. And Mac was brilliant. He saw us home 30 odd not out, and we got out of town. We a full 12-point victory, and that sort of really set us on the way. Then I don't think we lost them the game until after we'd won the league at that stage. So that was a great day, really, really good day.
Dudes, just before you move on from there, Tiffer, you only faced 8 balls and you managed to completely get under his skin.
Yeah, I was good at it back then, Jez. I was a bit of a wind-up merchant back in the day.
Where were you caught? It says Alt Court Bowl. No doubt it was some trying to inside out.
I'm going cow.
I think I was. Yeah, I think I top edged a sweep.
Right,
could be right.
Because I think my two fours were both sweeps. I do remember them because I hit them well. Just watched them fade away.
Yeah,
I think it was a top end. Yeah, trying to hit him over at train tracks again.
Right. But when you look at that scorecard, Gooch, Johnny Russell bowled the first 4.
Yeah, he was. He had days like that. Did Johnny? He was an excellent bowler, but he also was quite streaky. And when he got on a hot streak, he was unplayable at times. And that was one of those days.
This is one of the games I do remember.
All right, okay.
Because I think I like to, when the Seamers was on, Uncle Gerald will tell you this, I like to nestle in at mid-on and mid-off to ask you a few questions.
Yeah.
And Macca went nowhere, didn't he, in the first 5 overs? He went absolutely nowhere. And I think they went after Johnny a little bit, thinking they could get hold of him. And he just bowled full and straight. And they missed him. But I thought a lot of them 7 wickets were because of the partnership he had with Macca at the other end. But he bowled really well.
Yeah.
Kept toiling away.
But it's like you said, it's important. And you look at the bowling figures there, you know, Andrew McDonald's 11 overs, 23 for none. Musser's obviously bowled through. Matt's come on, obviously, great captaincy to take our pro off, and Matt's then got 5 overs, 7 for 3. And like you said, he's bowling in partnerships, it counts for a lot.
Does.
Just to shout out to Johnny, whilst he did get 7 for 36 that day, they weren't his best figures that year. I think he got 8 for against Cole.
Jesus.
Right. In an early league game. I think he got 8 for 22 or something like that against Cole in an earlier league game.
Yeah, 8 for 49.
Yeah.
All right, okay, excellent.
17
so,
overs.
We bigged him up.
Jesus.
We bigged him up, Joe. Can you have a look up how many wickets he got in the league that year altogether if he got 15 in 2 games? He must have got, 75, something like that?
I can have a look. 2005, he took 38.
38, okay. Well bowled, Mus.
Good work, Johnny, lad.
But it's the big games that count, Dooch, as you know.
Correct.
I don't know if you can remember, Joe, this is slightly late, but we once sent you in as a pinch hitter at Rishton. We were playing something Thomas. We kept blocking him from one end.
Oh, yeah, I remember. A young amateur, weren't he?
Yeah, and you said, send me in, I'll have a hit.
What happened?
You
I
were
got
out.
caught at long off. Caught at long off. At least I'll try and hit ball square.
And that was your exact response to Charlie when you walked back in.
Yeah.
At least I hit it.
Dooch, the Rishton game in July.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Is that my one and only day in the sun?
place?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Do you want a few scores from that day?
Yeah, please.
Well played, pal.
Right, so we were batting first and we were 82 for 5 when I went in.
Jeez.
And managed to put on a few with Macca. We ended up getting 224 and bowling them out for 113.
Good work.
Chris Benbow 2 for 10 off 2.3 overs to wrap it up. I remember, I have a vague memory of you bowling medium pace at Rishton one day. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did. I think that was that not the day? Was that not the day? Did I not bowl my first over? I'm sure you did. I'm sure it was that day.
Why would you have done that? Why?
I bowled my first over, absolute rockets.
Right, I just want to do 2 more games in relative detail. Three. One because you were brilliant, and the second one you were brilliant as well. But the first one was East Lancs at home. We got 227. You got 23 with the bat. But they were 100 for 1 in reply. Pearson and Lomas batting quite well. Chris Benbow, 18.4 overs, 7 for 55.
Oh, a day in the sun.
Saw us win by about 50 after being in, the result was in danger at one stage. That was Saturday the 20th of August. And then I'm saying your finest hour for Lowerhouse was the day after. Sunday the 21st of August, away at Colne. This is one of those games that I can remember blow for blow. I barely had to look it up. I could remember the scores and everything.
Yeah, I do. We got some runs, didn't we, in middle?
We did. Right at the death. They had Mahendra Nagamutu, West Indian rapid leg spinner, bowled fast leg spinners.
He just kept hitting everyone on the toe, didn't he?
Yeah. So Blaise was brilliant that day, obviously, as per usual. We struggled all day, and Blaise got 60. The other top order batsmen, including Macca, didn't really get going. But when you went out to bat with him, we were 92 for 5 with only 15 overs to go, and we ended up getting 193. So we ended up putting 100 on in the last 15 overs, which completely changed the complexion. But then again, second innings, Nagamutu, we got some early wickets. Then Nagamutu came out and he smashed us all over the place. He got 1,000 runs that year, which I didn't realise. But his runs against us that day, I'm looking at the ball count here. I don't know if you've got it on the website, Joe. Is the ball count on there?
Yeah. 41.
I've got the scorebook here. 41. So he got 57 off 41. Yeah, don't tell Stan I've got the scorebook from that year. He thinks it's lost, but I've got it. I keep it under the bed. Don't tell him though. Don't tell him.
Adam, make sure you edit that bit.
So we were struggling, and with again similar stage of the innings, 15 overs to go. What did I say? We were 90 for 5. They were 154 for 5. So they were 60 ahead of us with 15 overs to go. Mr. Benbow 4 for 41 off 17.4 overs, including the last 2 wickets. They only needed, what did they need? 8 off the last 5 overs, 8 wickets down. John Lambert, LBW, Chris Benbow, Matt Constable. God rest his soul. Clean bowled, Chris Benbow.
How many balls did Connie face that game?
I can tell you, about 35.
I remember I couldn't.
And he only
couldn't get him,
scored
could we not?
off 6 of them. So they were getting, like I said, they only needed 8 off 5 overs, but they were getting nearer and nearer and nearer. And it went right to the last over, or the penultimate over, and you bowled him. And we went absolutely mental because at that stage we only had 3 or 4 games left to play and we were top. I'd say I'm having that as your finest hour for Lowerhouse, that I'm saying. Certainly that whole weekend as a whole, but in particular that game. And then the last game I want to talk about was, no, not the last game, 2 more. But we played Burnley, which was another nail-biter, a game that we probably shouldn't have won. Johnny Clare smashed us all over the place to start with. We had a sub-pro, an Indian spinner called Robin Morris.
So a quick tale about Robin Morris.
Go on then.
Have you seen the match fixing documentary from Al Jazeera?
Yes,
No.
I have.
That's him.
What, he's on it? Robin Morris is on it?
He's one at Main Mon, yeah.
All right.
He's on it. I couldn't believe it when I was watching it.
The Burnley game at home, they got 193 and we won with a ball to spare. 49.5 overs, 9 wickets down. Johnny Russell and Jack McGregor. I think Johnny Russell kicked the winning run. Scores tied, and Johnny Clare was bowling at him, I think. Yeah, and he's legged it off a leg by, and we won with a ball to spare. And by that stage, it was pretty much sealed. Obviously, we got to Rottenstall and win, and that's it done and dusted.
Ordered. Send more house to save the house.
Can you remember much about the Rottenstall game? Can you remember anything about what happened that day? Who we had as pro? Anything?
I remember Kenroy.
Kenroy Williams.
Easily he is definitely my favourite sub-pro I've ever played with.
Why?
Because he didn't have a clue. It was brilliant. He came in the dressing room, and as you do, you introduce yourself and make a bit of small talk and have a bit of a natter with him. So I said, where are you playing for over here? And he didn't know, he couldn't tell me. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, it's September. He must have played 30 games this summer, and he doesn't even know what club he's playing for. So I watched him. He had a few taps on the outfield, and I'm getting a bit concerned. But he was, crikey, he was an absolute belter, him. I'd love to know what he's doing and where he is now.
Yeah, it would be good to try and find that out. Joe, perhaps you can get on that. Kenroy Williams.
I'm just looking now.
See if you can find out. But yeah, so we back.
Was he Bayesian? Was he Bayesian?
I think so. I
just can't remember. So he had a cap on. He had a green cap on with a yellow logo. I remember it as clear as day. And is that your club? And he's just looking at me. And whether he couldn't understand me or it was, but he just did not have a Scooby-Doo what was going on. It was awesome.
Yeah. It was fun. Kenroy got 21 batting first, and when he bowled, he got 1 for 29 off 6. And he got their pro out. So, on the face of it,
slip. I remember that.
Much, but Kenroy got Payne out, so we'll forgive him.
He only finished playing last year,
all right.
2019. Yeah, there's not a lot else to go off there.
Where's he from?
He is from Barbados, Harlington, St. Philip.
You were right, Tiff. You were right.
And he was selected to play for the Jamaican national team. So there you go.
Kenroy.
So he's
St.
played.
Kenroy.
He's all right.
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Played for Barbados.
Forever in our folklore, Kenroy Williams, top man. But yeah, we got 209 and we bowled them out for 156. Matt had a great day, got 5 for, and it was that was the day we were obviously in the box seat anyway. But as we were winning, fielding second, news had come through from wherever it was. I don't know who told us, but it become apparent that Ramsbottom had lost. So if we were going to see that game out, that was it, done and dusted. And we managed to do it, and that's where it was sealed. So it was a great day, wonderful day.
And there was loads of fans on Embankment too.
There was. I just remember people like Ed McCulloch being there, and obviously Phil Astin, David Wren, Jez had been there. Good day.
Yeah.
We played a couple more games. Last game of the season, we played against Church at home, and we were getting presented with a trophy after the game. We'd arranged a firework display. Everybody who'd ever seen Lowerhouse play cricket had come to watch. It was a brilliant day. Real party atmosphere. Wonderful day. Phil Sykes was their captain, and when we went out to toss the coin, he just said, "Don't bother." He said, "You can do whatever you want. You've already won league. You can bat first, bowl first, do whatever you want." So we had a bat first, 2:30. We had a sub-pro called David Bernard. Remember him?
Yeah.
Bowled rockets, hit the ball very hard. Nice chap.
Oh,
What are the point I'm coming to?
Question on him, quick, Joe, before you... I think I know where you're going with this game. In that game, would you say there was more player misses in that game with David Bernard bowling than you've ever seen in your career?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, possibly. He didn't get any wickets, but
He got nothing, did
he just... Yeah, there was a lot of wafting going on, weren't there? Yeah.
Oh, it was comical.
He played Test cricket.
Right, so...
Good player.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I played against him a couple of times when I went back to Goulburn. Good player.
Right, let me get to my point. We got 233, second innings. I'm fairly sure we're going to win this game. Like I say, we've got 233. We are a really good side. Church, nothing to play for. And the game's going reasonably well. Mark Aspin were a bit of a thorn in the side. He got 70 odd. But we get right down to the end of the game, and they need something like 20 off the last over. If I've got the scorebook here, I could probably tell you how many they needed off the last over. Well, they got 14. So they must have needed 15. 15 for a tie, 16 to win. Last ball, they need 7 to win. We're bowling an off spinner, right? So nothing can go wrong. 7 off the last ball, an off spinner, nothing can go wrong. The off spinner bowls a no ball, which gets it for 4. You want to come in at this stage or not? No, you don't. Fine.
No.
So all of a sudden they've gone from needing 7 to win. We've got a full house. Everybody who's ever come to watch Lowerhouse is here. My mum and dad are here. There's going to be a firework display, and we're going to lose. We're going to lose. I've just decided that's it. We're going to lose the game. They needed 7 off last ball. They've just got 5 off a no ball, so they now only need 1 to tie and 2 to win. So I went up to my bowler and asked him what he was playing at, and he was a bit tired because he bowled up.
What did you say?
He bowled a lot of overs. I think I said, "What are you playing at?"
No, I think you swore.
What have you
just swore at him as well?
What have you just done?
What
he flashed me a bit of a look. Yeah, he flashed me a bit of a look, as if to say, "Don't worry about it." Runs up, clean bowls him off the last ball of the game. Lowerhouse win.
Got him! Yay!
The off spinner was Chris Benbow. Finished with 5 wickets for 75. And we do get our last victory in front of our adoring fans, so I had nothing to worry about. Although I did have kittens for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Did you bowl many no balls?
No. If I've bowled 10 in my career, then I'd say that's a lot.
Right.
But no, I wasn't renowned for it. I did panic a little bit when it got hit for 4, though. That was my concern.
All ended well, Tiff. All ended well.
It did.
We had a decent party afterwards.
I stood at the end of my run-up, and I remember, because my dad never played cricket. My dad played crown green bowls and golf, that was it. But the one bit of advice he always told me when I was bowling is, get it in block all. So I thought, last ball at game, need a dot, got it in block all, middle peg, out flew. Game over.
The lad,
And then this is one of my favourite all-time memories of playing cricket at Lowerhouse Cricket Club. So the game had finished and fireworks are booming off left, right and centre, and I've walked off the field with David and like saying, well bowled, great day, well done mate, you've like done the club proud. And then he starts talking to me, asking me, can he come back and play here? It was like, he must have thought it was at IPL and it happened every day. Fireworks are pinging off everywhere. It was like, how good's this? This is brilliant. This have you sorted for next year? Who do I need to speak to? Like, laughing my head off and walking off the field with him, just like chuckling away. And that's one of my favourite memories of all time. That it was an absolute beauty. He just pulled his socks off. 65 playing misses, none for 40 odd. Chipped in with that. Yeah, I'd love to come back and play here. Like, atmosphere after every game with bangers going off left, right, and centre. How good's this? I'll come back. Can I play here every week?
Yeah, it just that last game of the season there, Joe. It was absolutely fantastic. And when the no balls bowled, I was convinced Tipper had done it on purpose. And he knew that it was scripted, but clearly not from his description. No. But what made me laugh there, Duke, and you described the last over and it's all tight. Clearly you want to win. You always want to win. And then you actually came, and my mum and dad were there. Can't believe my mum and dad. Yeah.
Mum and dad had come to watch me.
No, they came most games, but obviously, you know the point I'm making. I was desperate to win in front of everyone, and I thought my mate who's tossing game off right in front of my eyes, I thought I better go and have a word with him. Anyway, like I said, all's well that ends well.
A bit of a prep before we have these podcasts, and we were looking at your figures and what a contribution you've done to the club. And I think you've answered one of the questions that we're going to ask. Is I didn't realise you were 24 24 years of age when you came to the club and left when you were 28. But I think you've answered the question. You were falling out of love with the travel, maybe the commitment of the distance you had to travel. Is that a fair assessment of why you finished?
No, it wasn't so much that, mate. I think everyone at the club literally became part of my family. And if I stayed and have a drink with Dooch or with yourself and Matt and your Nick, even the young lads now, Cos and Scott, and I've kept in touch with them, and Scott came on with Stag Do, and I still speak to Matt Marquis and Johnny every now and again. So they became my mates and part of my family, but it was the time of I just didn't want to field. I just didn't want to stand there for 6 hours of my day. It wasn't so much the travelling. It never bothered me. I was working 5 days a week coaching, and then Saturday, Sunday you play in, occasionally Friday you play in. Like I say, it would become a bit of a busman's holiday, and I felt like I was like a joiner doing a foreigner every weekend. And I think Baz had just joined Addy the year before. I think the year I finished, Baz had just come back. Well, Baz had joined.
Baz Trim.
And then,
He'd been around. He played a few games in 2005 and 2006.
Yeah.
But I think by that stage, he pretty much decided he were going by that stage.
Yeah, and he was kind of ready to play first team, and Paddy was ready to bat and bowl in the first team, and it was a bit of a leg off, and I just thought, I don't want to spoil it for the rest of you lads, because it's your club. I don't want to knacker it up just being there and sort of filling a hole. So I decided. I think we had 3 games on the bounce rained off.
Yeah.
That year, and that was it. I can't remember who I spoke to, and I just said, look, give someone else a crack. I'm done. So I had a couple of years off, and then I went back to Goulburn, did 2 years, year and a half, I think, and then saying I've not played since.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I played once for Aggers last year. That was it.
All right.
That went well, I know.
Yeah, I believe so. No credit to you, Chris. Was you came into our club. Yeah, I'll say that, into our club. You did a fantastic job over those number of years, and then so you've gone at 2008. So you were a full-time coach at that stage in your occupation.
Yeah, I was working in the cricket centre
Yeah.
I was coaching in there, and we had a bit of a sideline working alongside my school college, so I was doing a lot of work on that. I'd just done my PGCE, and it was just getting too much, and I just decided enough was enough. I really want to be playing anymore. So
I mean, that brings me on to what does interest me. I don't know if Dooch or Joe Martin, have you anything about Chris's career at Lowerhouse before we move on to what he's achieved in the last 10, 12 years?
I was just going to ask. I seem to remember there being like the odd rumour that you might, whilst you're playing for Lowerhouse, other clubs might have approached you. Was that just rumour, or did that actually happen?
No, I can't remember anyone ever.
I think Rottenstall were always
play.
Mentioning that they were going to try and tempt you away. Did
No.
not happen,
No. The only thing Vinny ever said to me was, "How much am I getting paid?" That's all he ever said to me.
Right.
How much are you getting paid? How much are you getting paid? You're not coming here for free. How much are you getting paid? So Rusty still owes me money.
4 seasons worth.
Four seasons worth.
Good luck getting that.
Joe, have you any other questions for Tiffer about his Lowerhouse career?
Slightly. Mine is slightly after his Lowerhouse career when he was the coach for my Lancashire team. I don't know if you can remember any of the incidents that over those 2 years, Tiffer.
Maybe, go on.
My first game, I arrived late because Sean took me. Sean was very kind, brought me to the game, and before we set off, he said, "Oh, who are you playing against?" I said Cheshire. So Sean started driving to Chester, and I think we were playing in Macclesfield or somewhere like that. I can't remember now.
Toft, I think it was.
Toft. So I arrived late, trotted on. I think Dev Patel was stood at slip. Never met anybody. That was the first game.
You were keeping wicket?
Yeah, kept wicket. Yeah. And I'd forgotten my sunglasses. So I kept wicket in a pair of aviators. The second game was a 2-day game at Southport. And I kept wicket. I took 5 catches, but I also dropped simplest catch I've ever had. It went really slow, and it just bounced out of my gloves. And I also caught one that day.
On it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it very well, Joe. Yeah. How many did he go on to get? Can you remember?
I can't remember, but I think he got quite a few.
130 odd, I think he got.
Yeah.
What was he on when you shelled it? About 6, 7?
I think he was on single figures at least.
Nice one, Joe. Nice one.
Absolute clanger it was.
It was shocking, really bad. And then the last game, it was another 2-day game, but it was at Durham, and we stayed in a hotel overnight, and we had to go to the game with our suits on. So I got everything ready, took it, we drove up. Morning of the game, put my suit on, looking round, I thought, where are my shoes? So I'd forgotten my dress shoes. So I walked down to the cafeteria thing, like canteen, whatever you want to call it, with my suit on and my white Asics trainers, whilst Tiffy was having his breakfast. And he looked at me, started laughing, and said, "You look like a scouser going to court." I hadn't said anything at this point. I just had my trainers on, and I had to borrow some Converse sneakers that had like buckles and stuff on them, and they had like a white rim. A couple of people, because someone had to borrow Neil Gervin's shoes as well. They were like,
yeah. I'm trying to think where that was. Was it a concert?
Yeah, concert. It rained the first day, I think. Yeah.
And we was in a position where we were going to win, and we ended up losing because I drove. We went on a minibus, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I drove the kit van. We used to take a little transit van, and I drove the kit van back. And so we come out of the ground, and I scratched the side of the van. So I was a bit annoyed about the game. I scratched the side of the van. I was annoyed about that because I had to pay for it, and then I got done speeding on the road back down to the dual carriageway. So all in all, it'd been a stinking day up in Durham. But I do, Joe. I remember all 3 of those. More so you dropping Ben Rain on about 6. I do remember. It stuck with me that strangely.
I mean, I can remember that, and it was horrendous, and that was at the starting point where I thought, do you know what? I don't think I'm going to be a professional cricketer.
What age group was that, Joe?
Well, That's also it was 16s, but I was playing above my age group for some reason. I can't remember why, but they must have been desperate. Someone who had some hands.
You were a good one. He was a good one.
Well, so yeah, there were my coaching memories of Tiffa. I don't really have the only other game I can remember is when you played against Bacup. Now, I don't think he did anything, but we had a sub-pro called Ian Daniel. It was.
Was that the game? Was that the game I kept wicket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Jack break it?
Jack got injured
finger.
halfway through. Yeah.
And he kept wicket.
I caught Chris Harris down inside edge, didn't I? Off Scott Hope.
Yeah.
Great grab. Will Driver mentioned it on Twitter the other day.
Oh, did he? Well, yeah, I remember Ian Daniel.
One of me. Yeah, he
First
was
ball
all
duck.
right. No ball, Ian. What happened to him? Where was he? Was he Sri Lankan?
Yeah, Sri Lankan.
Was he?
Yeah, good first class career.
Did he?
Yeah, nearly 9,000 runs, 170 games. Not bad. And he had.
What year was that? 7?
2008.
2008.
That's probably your last ever game for us, that, Tiff.
It's
No.
one of.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, it was that was my last game.
Yeah, were the others rained off?
Yeah.
No, I think that was end. Was that not end of season?
No, there were three.
No.
There were 3 games left, and you had 3 games that were all rained off. So they must have been the games you were talking about, Tipper.
Yeah. Or maybe I kept wicket against Bacup and decided that that was my future and I wasn't going to keep wicket for Lowerhouse. I'll go back to lower leagues and start again.
Tiff, we're lucky. We know what you're up to now. You know how successful you've been. You're there with Lancs. How did that come about? Just talk us through the last 10 years, really, Chris. When you're always mad keen on your coaching. You're always into the technical side of the game. Just give us a resume of the last 10 years, and then after that, if you don't mind, just give us a chat about what it's been like the last couple of years.
Jason Swift was the analyst. He got on well with Stewie Law. When Stewie got the Bangladesh job, he took Swifty with him. So the analyst role came about. I contacted Winker and Peter Moores just to see what the crack with it is. What do I need to know? What do I need to do? There was a bit of a period through the winter where I think they explored some avenues with people who'd been in and around it in the past and done a few bits in the past. And then they offered me the role. So I was analyst for about 5 years. And Ashley Giles came in, worked under Ash, worked under Morsey, worked under Chappie's sort of first time as coach. So all great experiences. And then when Ash left and Glenn and Chilly took over the first team, there was a gap in the second 11. And to keep some continuity, I just drifted down into the second team for a little bit. And I'm still there. So it's all worked out really well, actually. It's been good fun.
So are you not doing the analyst stuff now for the first team?
I don't code anything, no. So we've got Max Backhouse is our first team analyst. He does a great job. He is a proper analyst. He's more stats based. I was more making nice, pretty videos and pulling the lads up and making them all sort of getting their self-esteem up and showing them what we're good at. Whereas Max looks at things in a bit more depth. So from that point of view, I kind of I'm his link through the ECB. So I don't want to lose touch with it. So I'm still classed as lead analyst, but Max does most of the work. He does the coding and puts all the pre-game stuff together, and we just catch up and have meetings on what can we do, how can we get better, what sort of stuff's out there within other sports, what software's out there that we can use, how can we improve what data we collect, how can we make it more simple, those sorts of stuff. But yeah, he does most of that, and I probably 80% of my role now is coaching through the pathway and in through the second team and the professional staff.
No, it's a great achievement, that, and I don't know whether it's just me. I know Joe Martin's massive into his analytical type material and research and stats. But it does fascinate me that. And those years that you're doing that, I'm assuming obviously you're watching the games live, you're studying the videos. Are you looking at every aspect of it? Every ball. How often a player plays a certain shot to a certain bowler? What he's doing well. What not?
Pretty much right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a live coding screen on the computer.
Okay.
We notate electronically where the ball's pitched. So all the stuff you see on Sky, basically, where the ball's pitched, where the ball's been hit, how many runs, what shot, attacking shot, defensive shot, contact on the bat, dismissals. And then as we collate all that information over years and years and years, you start to look and analyse bowlers. So, like, what's his first, as a bowler, what's his first 2 overs look like from batter? What are his dismissal trends? How does his strike rate and average in his first 15 balls compare to his next 15 balls? And there's pretty much as much information as we collate, we will try and look at it, and then how can we put it into a presentable manner that we can give it to Chappie and Chill and Dane so that they can distribute it to the players and make use of it.
Right, because I'm obviously that must be massively time consuming, very interesting to you all, and I can only, I played amateur all my career, and I, continue to watch the team. Now, what's it like when that's delivered to the players? Because I'm sure pro players are similar to amateur players. Obviously, they're a lot better players, but it doesn't necessarily make them more intelligent. Or how's it received from some of the players?
It's intel, isn't it? You're basically, you're giving them information they might not have. Some players are very analytical themselves, so they'll already know. I don't think, between myself and Max, we're not stupid that we think that we know more than the players. They're the best analysts. They know. They're the lads who they've been playing against these guys for 5, 6, 7, 8 years possibly. So they've got a lot more information than we have. But we can, because we've got hard facts basically. We can just drill down a little bit deeper and give them some information that either backs up what they think or challenges them. And there's no harm in being challenged. We're not all right. We don't know the answers. We don't know the answers to everything. So any information you can get is all good.
Yeah, and so I assume from the answer you've given there, they do take it on board, and I think that is a new concept. Maybe in the last 5-10 years, whether it's football, cricket, people do take that on board and and utilise it. What do you think of that, Joe Martin? I know you've done little bits for major teams. What's your thoughts about that, and could it be something that could come into the amateur game?
Yeah, well, I think it's really interesting looking at trends and patterns of play and how you can get more of an insight into who you're going to be playing against to see if you can have that upper hand. And it's actually before the coronavirus started. I was actually in the process of doing that for Ben. So I was looking through all the old scorecards and play cricket stats and any ball by ball data that we had that I was collating for all the teams. And I guess it depends on how much time people have for amateur cricket. I happen to have a lot of spare time. But if people want to put the time and effort in to do that and see if it can make a difference, then there is a lot of information out there. Not as much as the pros get, but I think it is possible if you can. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know it's difficult, as you said, Tiffer, about the Sky stuff and the ball tracking and knowing where it's all accurate stuff, which obviously amateurs can't have. But do you agree that it's something that could be used in the top amateur cricket, like the Lancashire League and Central Lancs?
Well, a lot of clubs do, don't they? I think you use pitch vision.
Yeah.
So you've got pitch vision, my action replay. Toby Lester's involved. Him and his brothers have set a little company up called Waffle. So there's a lot out there. It pretty much does it for you. So if you want it, you can get it. That's the be all and end all. I think if you want to take things to that level and start exploring it, but you don't just want to, because it's cost effective. It's like financially as well. How much do you want to fork out for something you're not going to use? If you're just going to use it for video and streaming, you can do that with a camera and YouTube. So it's a balance of if you're that serious about what you're trying to do and how much you want to get better. Or
the problem with the amateur game is, though, the players turn over quicker, don't they? The players move from not only from club to club but league to league. So you might not get the depth of data that you would in the pros. You're going to come up against the same bowler for a particular county year on year on year, where you don't necessarily get that, do you, Howard?
I think, and I've not looked at it for a while, but I didn't play cricket been sort of souped up a little bit. Last time I looked, it had.
Yeah, but we did.
So
The league did use play cricket for a little while, but I think it became cost prohibitive. So I don't think.
Oh,
Is it play cricket, Joe? That was, or was that somebody else?
Initially, it was Cricket HQ.
Oh, that was it. That's what I'm
you
thinking of.
you have to pay for that.
Yeah.
So we use Pitch Vision, but obviously not everyone else has it. So we use it for when we're coaching and whatever to analyse stuff. But in terms of games, we can analyse all our games, but not necessarily from everybody else. If we need to.
Just moving on from there, Tiffer, what's your thoughts about this season for county cricket? And the ECB have just announced that we know cricket, I think, before the 1st of July, they said.
Yeah, I think so. It'll if it's safe, it'll start. If it's not, it won't. I'm sure.
Yeah,
that's as much as I know, really, mate. And that's my view. If we can get out and we can play, then I'm sure we will. At some point in the end of August into September, maybe. But if it looks like everything's going Pete Tong again, then they'll just can it and to make next year bigger and better, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's the same in Lancashire and everywhere else, and it does look a little bit bleak, the longer it goes on. But I think we all agree, it's got to be safe and it's got to be right. Do you think it will harm county cricket much, Chris, or do you think they'll get through it?
I'm not financially, maybe, but I think it'll give. Spectators definitely will give them they're going to be missing it. I'm sure football fans are missing the football, and as soon as them gates open, I think the crowds will be massive. Like we had a great 2020 year last year with crowds, and I'm sure it'll be the same. People will just run in, start to watch. So hopefully there's not all. Well, there's going to be revenue loss, but hopefully it's not too much that it damages counties. And if we are lucky enough that we can get a bit this year, what they get from gate receipts helps them and takes them into next year, and then we just get bigger and better, and we just do things smarter next year to bring in extra revenue.
Just thanks, Tiff, for your time and going through that with us. Very enjoyable.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. Good to see you all.
Oh, we love it. Joe Martin, anything before I give the baggy blue plug?
I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Charlie Cotton and Chris Blazard are doing a great job, along with others, in establishing actual players' numbers for amateurs and professionals from the cricket club. So if there's anyone listening out there who played first team cricket at Lowerhouse and want to get their own baggy blue, as it's called, fantastic caps. You will have your own individual number on the rear, you can have your initials on, and they're only 25 quid. So go onto the website, have a look and get it ordered quickly, because we've got a bulk order going in. I think the seamstresses have already started to make the one for Matt Stansfield.
Are they putting 3 together?
So if anyone wants one, get on the website. It's easy to order. Get them bought. One last thing from me before we go. Drew the Lowerhouse draw the other day. Tiffer, I'm really sorry. I know you give me grief.
Oh my God!
You don't win. It's been a while.
I honestly don't think I've won anything since 2005.
Right.
Absolute schmozzle, this. I bet you must have took about $8,000 off me as well. I'm not one of been.
We'll talk off air. £100 to Frank Porter, £80 to Clive Spencer, £70 to Seamus Alexander, and £50 to Paul Kenneth Stanfield. So they're the winners of the April draw. I'll try my best, Tiffer, next time.
Crackpots, a lot of you. Anyway, lads, keep up the good work, won't you? Because it's thoroughly enjoyable. living in my pit. I'm waiting on. I've been poorly sick. I'm waiting on COVID coming in.
Really?
Should get my results in next day or two.
You think you've had it?
I'm not too bad today, but last 4 days it felt like I've been hit by a bus.
Really?
Yeah, I've been grim. So I've not had a shave for 4 days. That's why my beard's like
4 days, bollocks.